Good evening, everyone. It is just turned 6 o'clock, so we make a start. Welcome to tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Hooper. I'm chair of the local area committee. I'm also councillor for West Ecclesfield, which does cover Grenoside. I'm Grenoside resident as well. Before I ask other councillors to introduce themselves, I'll hand over to Philippa, our clerk, to read out the housekeeping arrangements for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before we start, there's just a few housekeeping arrangements to mention. Please can I request that mobile telephones and other such equipment are switched to silent mode so as not to disturb the conduct of the meeting. There's no fire test planned for today. If there is an emergency evacuation, please take instruction from the council staff present. The assembly point is in the community centre car park. Toilet facilities are situated just through the doors down there on the right, straight opposite. The meeting today is open to the public and will be streamed live and will subsequent broadcast via the council's website. However, we understand there are a few technical problems tonight, so this may not be the case just for tonight's meeting. You should be aware that the council is a data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during this webcast will be retained in accordance with the council's published policy. By entering the meeting room, you are consenting to be filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting, if it works. One final thing to mention, we have hearing loops available. If you'd like to use one, please let us know. Thank you.
Thanks, Philippa. I'm going to now ask the councillors at the table to introduce themselves. The North Area Committee is made up of 4 wards, Stannington, Stocksbridge, East Ecclesfield and West Ecclesfield. So we'll start with you. Will you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Will Saplow, Councillor for Stannington. Thank you.
Evening everyone, I'm Lewis Chinchen, Councillor for Stocksbridge, Neighbourhood Ward.
Good evening, I'm Whitaker, Councillor for West Ecclesfield Ward and Deputy Chair of this committee.
Good evening, I'm Mike Levy, Councillor for West Ecclesfield Ward.
Good evening, I'm Woodcock, Councillor for East Ecclesfield Ward.
And I'm Councillor Rob Rice, Councillor for East Ecclesfield Ward.
Thank you very much, councillors. Before we proceed with the agenda, I'd just like to explain how the meeting will work, just to give you the information of how we can proceed. It will be formal, but hopefully informal, where you can participate. First, we'll deal with the formal business of apologies, declarations of interest, and minutes in the last meeting. We'll then have public questions and answers, any petitions. We'll then move on to the item of the North Local Area Committee budget, and the area manager, Dave, will firstly give a presentation. There will be discussion and a debate, and members of the committee will be asked to agree the recommendation report. We will then have an update from the area manager on projects in the North area. Finally, we have an update on the Ecclesfield Neighbourhood plan to be given by the Ecclesfield Parish Clerk, Andrew Towlerton. We've also got 2 guest speakers. We've got one from the Youth Services, and we've also got Adam from Friends of Grenoside Park. As we're in Grenoside, it would be really interesting to see where they're going and what they've done and where they need to get to fulfil the project for the first and foremost children's playground and then the park as a whole. So we'll bring you in later, Adam. Thank you. So now move on to the meeting then. Over to Philippa for apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillors Penny Baker, Julie Greyfoot, Janet Riddler and Richard Williams.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is exclusion of the press and public. There's no items on this agenda that require the exclusion of the press and public. Item number 4 is declarations of interest. Do any members wish to declare any interest in any of the items of the business agenda? Has anyone got anything? No declarations. Thank you. Moving swiftly on to the minutes, item number 5 of the previous meetings. We've had 2 meetings. Firstly, The meeting held on the 21st of November, and they're on pages 9 to 18 on the agenda pack. So starting at page 9, we can move through page 9, page 10, and page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, and page 16. Has any members got anything that they wish to comment on? I have in front of me 3 matters arising. One was from the Riverland Valley Playground Master Plan implementation. The master plan will only be possible future funding secured. Secondly, the Fox Glen area and the plating will install an outstanding bit of kit in Fox Glen. And thirdly, Ecclesfield Park. We're looking at major developments in Ecclesfield Park, including a play zone, and looking at the feasibility of a calf toilet for the park during 24-25. It's some years since we lost the pavilion and changing facilities in Ecclesfield Park. It's been around, perhaps it's been about 20 years since we lost that. So can we approve the minutes then of that meeting there on the 21st? And then we had a short meeting following on from that one in December. Can't find it. And that was on the 6th of December. It was held actually in the town hall, formal meeting where we elected a vice chair for this committee following the sad death of Councillor recently. And we elected Whitaker as vice chair for this committee. Thank you. So now we're on to item 6, which is public questions and petitions. I know we've no written questions formally, but we have questions from the floor. And over to Sir. Yeah. If you want to introduce yourself, yeah, then we can.
My name's Dave Crowley. I live in Uxbridge. I was prompted to come to this meeting with my question. Could I raise the issue of the totally inadequate road signs on Station Lane, Uxbridge Lane, as the road crosses the railway bridge? This can be a very, very busy road. The triple blind bends at the bridge have no clear road signs to indicate that pedestrians could be in the road, as there is no footpath. It's an absolutely lethal section of road for pedestrians.
Yeah. Does anyone want to comment, Lewis?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so I mean, anyone that has driven or walked or cycled along across the bridge will know that this is a genuine issue, a safety issue, and I think ultimately it won't be fully solved unless we can get a footbridge adjacent to the current road bridge, and that's an issue that's been going on for many years. Because obviously the funding issue for that is the major blocker. One potential opportunity is with the Sheffield local plan, which is currently it's currently in public examination stage or being reviewed by the government. And there is a site there at Platts Lane, and as part of one of the conditions or the proposed conditions of that site, there would have to be, if it was to be developed, there would have to be a footbridge essentially that was put in place if that site was to be developed. So that was something as a councillor that I was quite keen to pick up on in those discussions with planning officers at the time the local plan was going through and sort of being consulted with councillors on to make sure that was a condition of that site. So I think long term that's where we need to get to. In terms of the short to medium term and making sure that we've got adequate safety measures in place. There are, only sort of certain signs that we can use because it's a national sort of selection of road signs that we have to choose from. So there are only certain signs that the council would be able to use. I know we have the slow marking on the floor that we funded, and also a sort of warning sign as well for drivers coming onto the bridge to warn them of the potential hazard. But I'm conscious that may not be sufficient. So I'm happy to go away and look at some alternative options, but I can't guarantee that there will be better signage from the available options, given that it's just a national set of road signs that we can choose from. So we're not in a position to, put in a bespoke sign for that particular bridge. That wouldn't be an option. But I can have another, conversation with highways officers about what we can do to improve that again and try and mitigate the hazard further in the sort of short to medium term until that long-term solution can be put in place.
Can I come back to you on that? Everybody knows about a footbridge in the future and costs a lot of money and what have you. The only sign that says there's no footpath for pedestrians there is the small triangular sign that shows an adult and a child. I've shown that to numerous people and not many people know what that actually means. And also people in highways possibly don't know what that means because I've seen the same sign on a bridleway in the Peak District, not even a tarmac road. That's near enough an A road now, and people are concentrating going up the hill flat out to get the momentum, and they hit that triple bend and they are not aware that there's pedestrians in the road. All it needs is a simple sign saying danger, pedestrians in highway. You see it temporarily when there's concerts out in the countryside, that there's people walking on the road without footpaths. It's fudging the issue. It doesn't cost much to put a written sign up saying danger, pedestrians in the highway or something similar. And when an incident does occur, there'll definitely be road signage improved, because I know people who've gone on speed awareness courses and they said signage is only changed when there's been an incident. And when there is an incident there, the halls will have bolted. And I've got names of people who've fudged this issue, and it's absolutely disgusting.
Councillor Everett, Mike.
Yeah, just to say we have problems on Skew Hill Lane by the cemetery with no footpath, and we have put signs of warning of pedestrians in the road. They've got what we say the warning sign. We've done it top and bottom because there's a stretch of road which is unlimited speed and pedestrians in the road.
People are going uphill. They won't slow down because they want the momentum.
Can we?
It's easy.
Yeah, when I spoke to you, I did offer, I think if we meet, Lewis, and perhaps Dave, we can go and have a look with some suggestions and seeing how we can improve it with the signs that, as Lewis says, are distinct Department of Transport signs, but we can make them bigger and or bolder or with backgrounds or whatever.
Verbally abused by a driver when she walks over it the other week. You have to put the windows down and scream abuse at her for being on the road.
Over the years, there's been quite a bit of traffic calming and other things down on Housekeeping where the park is. But yeah, I agree that it's not. And over the years as well down there, there's been an increase in not only traffic using the road, but pedestrians using the woods, and many more cyclists as well.
Yeah, path meets on the bridge as well, so it's just.
So we've got your details. I think if we can arrange with the local councillor and myself, and probably you and probably David and officer, we'll go and have a look. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. No more direct questions, but from the meeting tonight, we've had an issue raised about Hollow Meadows. If you want to. If you raise it as a public question, we can record it and then it'll go in a minute.
So it's our first time this meeting. So we're from Hollow Meadows, and what we've started like a local campaign really. It's literally just why we've come tonight. It's from
Hollow Meadows all the way through to Moscow, so the A57 goes all the way through. It's currently 50 miles an hour, but there are so many, and really over the last year it's gone absolutely bonkers. And you've got so many blind bends and so many businesses on there, lots of farms that have been impacted, and the accidents that are happening is through the roof. So what we're wanting is a reduction in the speed, because if you try and take those bends at 50 miles an hour, there's absolutely no, you can't, well you can, but God you'll be risking it. So it's a reduction in the speed and just some speed cameras on there so that we can actually evidence that, you know, that the speeding is going on. And just some traffic calming things. I mean, I don't know the kind of rumble strips before the blind bends and people know it's coming, because at the moment there's nothing. It just says you can go at 50 and it's fine, and it's not.
Thanks, Liz.
Yeah.
Well, Liz, Councillor, you want to say something? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so Liz and Rachel, thank you very much for raising this point with me, and I also want to thank you and your neighbours for the first aid that you've provided to people in the area having crashed, because it's that remote that actually you're going to get there well ahead of an ambulance. So thank you for the hard work you do there. Totally acknowledge as well as the very, very important safety issue we've got, business issues here as well, in walls getting knocked down, livestock are escaping, potentially even creating further danger, because if the wall comes down and you've got sheep and whatnot in the roads, that can cause further issues. So, as you know, we've had a chat already. We've started to get the wheels in motion on this. I've had a discussion with Dave. We're going to review the location of the VAS cameras and see if we can get at least one put in this particular hotspot. Thank you in advance for when you send me the map. And if you can put anything on there, some ideas as to where or not you think that the cameras would be best put. Obviously, that'll be down to a risk assessment, but that could be considered absolutely. And we're fortunate tonight to have our policing colleagues with us as well, because I know that one of the arms of this would be a freedom of information request. Perfect. Excellent. Just to make sure that you've got the wording right, because there is something about recorded and reported accidents.
Yeah, I've done that. I just want to ask as well, because we were thinking of doing a community speed camera. I don't quite know how it works. I know you get the high business, you get the camera, and you stand there and do it. Would that help in doing that to get more data to kind of like a plan campaign? Or do you think is it the VAS? I don't even know what VAS is.
I'll bring in my colleague.
So, on the first part about kind of the speed camera, as with everything, there's a lot of guidelines around where they're placed. So that probably is unlikely to happen. The VAS is that the council talks about, they're the signs that tell you how fast you're going, or tell you if you're going too fast. Yeah. So what they do, they collate information as well. So they say what the average speed is, what's the fastest speed, and so that helps in terms of that evidence gathering. The community speed watch, I think from a safety point of view, because it's a 50 mile per hour, we probably wouldn't invite you to it, because for the reasons you've explained, if people are going in excess of that 50 miles per hour, then that's a risk to people standing on the road, isn't it? And it also, I don't know that side of the north, because it's the other side, the Grenada side, isn't it? But we'd have to look at whether there's a suitable place for us to do that as well. So definitely pass it on to my colleague who works at DCAR to look at whether there's anything they can do to kind of do some speed enforcement. I hope that answers the question. I don't think if it was this side of cameras, I wouldn't be inviting you to join us just for those safety reasons. We'd be 50 miles per hour. So,
yeah. I think we do need to raise the issue so that we can actually, make a business case for the funding that's required for, yes, maybe rumble strips, but nothing that I want to have on the record as a consideration of barriers that should a car try and leave the road, that it can be retained on the road as well.
I think that's going back to because that's a really good point, because a lot of the farms that we have along the road, and I've asked them as well if they can kind of catalogue that the time that it takes for them, because they're having to rebuild their walls, and I know Was it Whitaker? Yeah, it was down for about 18 months. They decided to have it done about a month ago, and it lasted a week. And that's taking time away from working on the farm, and then, you know, they've got to do it because they've got animals now. So it's just, at the moment, it just seems relentless, isn't it? Hence why we're here.
Thank you, Ollie. As Matt says, he's a safeguard policing for this side of the hill. Different neighbourhood policing team over the hill. We'll contact them from our side. Matt, if you could do the same, we'll try and move it on. Yeah, thank you. Phil Harris, I've got this here about the planning. Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah. The old school in Riverside, basically, it's when they built the new school, Fabulous School, the old school was left to go to rack and ruin. Planners seem to have ignored it completely. They've allowed it to become an eyesore in the village. And now it's got to a stage where it's fallen down through lack of maintenance and repair. And it's almost like the planners have not taken any interest in Riverside. They've allowed it to happen. They should have been up there, meeting the owners with Section 215 to keep them in decent repair. They haven't. Can we explain why?
I can't explain why. Anyone else can explain the situation, how it's occurred? Some 18 years ago, when the school vacated that site and had the new school built across the road, it was put up for auction very quickly and sold, and subsequently it's been sold on 4 times now from different owners. There is a planning application in for the school site to develop it. Unfortunately, the front building, the old infant site building, has collapsed. As you say, through neglect. I'm not sure whether it's a planning services issue. But the issue now with the other building is it's unsafe, and I think it's recommended to be demolished, which is a shame. I'm a Grenoside person, and it's an eyesore. It needs developing. The current owners of the site and the application has come from a local builder who has Grenoside at heart. The architect is a Grenoside architect as well. So hopefully it will be developed and make a big improvement on that side of Norfolk Hill. It's a shame that it's been like that for 18 years, really. Home to pigeons and other vermin, and initially at the first it was vandalised as well. Feel really sorry for the neighbours around there, especially those people at the back on Long Lane there, who's had to endure that sort of building. But I'm not sure. You mentioned, what was it, Section 215?
215, yeah.
I'm not sure how that fits in. I don't know. I can't answer that, but we'll find out. But I don't think it's been a neglect on the Sheffield City Council. It's just that the builder has failed to develop. The owner, prior to this owner who's got it now, who's had it for about 12 months, had it for some 10, 11 years, 12 years, and did nothing with the site, unfortunately, as did the previous owners. Yeah.
The council has got powers to take on sites like this and develop them, or get people in who can develop them properly. What's happened here is similar to what happened down at the old council buildings. We had a developer come in, allowed the site to go to rack and ruin. That one was obviously due to fire, but then demolished what was a well-established building with character and replaced it down there with the blocks of anonymous flats. And up here it's going to be, 5, 6, 7 big detached houses, whereas what we've lost is a beautiful piece of architecture it's with a face with, well,
Okay.
no problem. It's these, the pictures are the same.
So, no. I'll come back to you, Phil, with a reply from the planning department. Yeah. Thank you. Has anyone else got any issues they want to raise as a point of question? Okay. Thanks for that. Yeah, very, very useful, I think, for us as councillors, and we can get them recorded and hopefully get some answers. May not be the answers you wish for, but we'll try and get some answers. Thank you. Item number 7 is the North Local Area Committee budget. We've got 2 items which Dave's going to introduce. They'll not be too long, but just for information of how we spent the money, and then the budgets and what we spent the money on with projects. Over to you, Dave. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. So I'm the Community Services Manager for the North, working with your councillors in the North. This essentially is taking you through some of the practicalities of how we've used the budget, and then the next item will be a little bit more giving a flavour of the sorts of things that we've funded. I know you have to crane your neck slightly, but information's on the screen. So in terms of the formality of this meeting, this is just reporting back on things that have previously been formally agreed, because values we're talking about here don't need a formal decision from the councillors. So we had a £100,000 budget. The councillors agreed to run 2 rounds of what we call the Big Idea Fund, which was essentially saying, what's your new idea to do something in the area? So, for example, a gentleman is going to speak about the local park later. That group was able to apply for some funding to help them to do the surveys they need in order to develop their future plans. So, got a bit of details about the second round of that fund, and then we had what we call the Greatest Need Fund, which was particularly supporting organisations like our food banks in the area. And the rest of the £100,000 budget is what we would call quick wins, which is when there is a need to respond to something in the area in a fairly informal way. So the round 2, and this is in the formal document that you've got. I'm not going to go through all of these details and lots of projects in lots of details, but when we ran another opportunity for people to bid into that funding, these are the projects that were successful. So we've got some community events in Stannington, and the library there is going to have a new screen to display community information. The British Legion in Stocksbridge are going to put a new website together. We've got some heritage and history events around the Ecclesfield area, some further development work around the Food Matters project in Stocksbridge, and some further development of the community minibus scheme in Stocksbridge. So we're not able to give you lots of details about what's happened with those, because some of those will run into the next financial year. So when I'm able to report back in a moment about some of the projects, these ones will probably get going in the next financial year, but that's reporting back. So yeah, these items, just really for the record, are to formally say that under £5,000, alongside the chair, we can make those decisions on some of those quick wins. So these are items that have been agreed between these meetings using those powers. Don't think we need to go through them in lots of detail. So that leaves us with just under £7,000. There's a few other things I've been in discussion with the chair about in order to allocate those funds before the end of March. We'll bring those back to the next meeting for full details. Sorry, this is quite small, but the other budget that we had is what's called a cost of living budget, where councillors previously agreed that half of that would go into citizens' advice work in the city. So the other half, again, we have made available to projects in the area, lots of different things, supporting things like a new social club in Bright Home Lee. Some of the projects are really working with people in a lot of need in the area. Some of that, you may have heard about the concept of a welcome space, where we're trying to make places available to people such as the Ecclesfield Library. So those are the things that were funded under that scheme. And as I say, in the next report, we'll be able to give you a little bit more of a flavour of things that we've funded all through. So do we want to just see if there's any questions on that, Chair, or we can move into the update, which is giving a bit more of a flavour of the sort of things that we've done with it this year.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Adam?
Just a very quick one. When you're doing the funding round, how do you publicise it? How, so that people know when, whether, or if they can apply.
Thank you. Yeah. So we have a number of channels. We have email distribution lists. We have a blog. So we're trying to put it out far and wide, social media as well. But we are conscious that we want people to be plugged into that. So if anyone is representing a group in the community, then please let us know if you're not already on our networks. My colleague Teresa, do you want to add anything to that?
For the North Flag. So we have got a Facebook page, we've got a blog site, we've got Twitter, and we've got SEC alerts which you can sign up to. So any publication that we do about finances, ward pots or funding available will go through them channels. Once they've gone out from them channels, then they are shared. This information is shared to local Facebook groups across the north, which is, the forum, the Chapel Town, Riverside, High Green, the Cross Forum site, which is a really, really popular Facebook group. So we generally get a lot of people sharing information from that. There's standing some Facebook groups that we also share it to, again, equally in Stocksbridge. And then we send it out to a little mailing list with groups that have registered on our mailing list. So they also get that. But it's, how far wider can we go with sharing this information? But we do find that sharing it through the Facebook group sites, it seems to hit more local people. And we get a lot more local people coming and approaching because of we've seen it.
How easy is it for, I think you might have some groups of people who are not constituted groups, might actually want to form something. How easy and what support would be available for a group of people who maybe want to do something locally but are not yet constituted? What support's available for that?
Thank you. Yeah, so we have a number of options essentially where if a group wants to get formed, so again, Riverside Park have got themselves organised in the way that they need to be able to access funding. If people need support to do that, we'll have a conversation. We'll link them in particularly with Voluntary Action Sheffield, South Yorkshire Funding Advice Bureau. There are times where sometimes we will buddy a group up with another group in order for that group to help if that needs to happen in the short term.
Hang on. I'm Mark Hyde, Committee Development Worker for the North Flag, so that's part of my role to help with, constitutions and development work and recruiting volunteers. That's part of my role as well. So if anybody wants to get in touch, by all means do. I'm glad to come out and meet with you at your convenience.
Mark's a worker for this side of the sort of north. A welcome addition. Extra hands, extra help.
Website.
Yes. Rob?
I'd also like to say we are blessed up here in the north local area committee with the only parish and town councils in the city, all of which have got quite good relationships with community organisations that we built over years as a kind of the point of contact. I know that Ecclesfield Parish Council has provided some direction to community groups towards LAC, and I'd like to see that go further, but I think it might also be useful for the Stocksbridge Town Council, but also Bradfield Parish Council to kind of connect between us as a local area committee and the organisations that are needing funding.
Thank you. Yeah. So we as a team, we're working with your councillors. Partnerships are basically the bedrock of what we do. So we almost, it's really helpful, thank you for raising that. We almost sort of take it for granted that, of course, we work with parishes and we work with voluntary groups and we work with partners like the police. So we're always wanting to do that. We've got lots of different communication channels. If there's a group that isn't plugged into us, please point them our way. There are ways in which individuals can sign up. We're conscious that not everyone is aware of all this, so one of the things we're doing as a team is thinking about how we can be out and about in the community so that people that aren't already plugged into these sort of avenues can know about what we do. So always very happy to discuss, take suggestions from people and look at how we can do that more.
Any further comments or questions? At this stage, I'd just like to thank Dave for the budget. We've almost spent every penny, I think, now. Well, I've got to by the end of this month. We've done very well. And the team as well. It's not been an easy year because we started off with a budget of 100,000. Then we got some more money, extra work, some more money, extra work for the cost of living, which was great, but it just adds to the other thing. And as you say, Adam, it's difficult to get all the groups. We've had more applications than we've been money for. We had to sift through. Some of the applications, for whatever reason, weren't valid or weren't subject to that, but we did try and signpost them onto other things or other areas. So yeah, but thanks for Dave and the team. Thank you. I'll be finished.
So, just to add actually a very practical example. I think in the previous financial year was a group that was meeting in the church hall here. They weren't constituted. They've got a bit of a lack of funding, and we worked with them and we worked with the church here to make sure that they got the support they needed short term, and then they were able to get themselves organised and constituted. So anyone who's got an idea or a project, please do point them our way. So in terms of the project updates, I wanted to give you a bit more of a flavour of the sort of things we've done this year, because as the Chair said, we've had a number of different funding pots. So we start with the fact that we agreed in September these three very broad priorities based on what people said to us last summer, where we did some consultation. Lots of concerns around transport, which we know that we have limits about what we can do, but we very much recognise that is probably the biggest issue that people raise with us. Concerns around community safety, and broadly about how we can build and develop community life. So that kind of steered initially what we did, and that led into a number of different funding pots. And just want to give you an idea of some of the things that happened through those pots. So, do the next slide, thank you. This gives you just the big overview. There's £100,000 project budget, £37 for cost of living. There's a ward pot that is dealt with at a ward level, where there's £25,000 across the board. We also had a £10,000 youth budget, and we were able to access two budgets that didn't formally sit with us, but where we could draw upon them within the council. One was around pedestrian enhancements, and one was around fly tipping. So we'll give you some examples of some of the things we've done under them. So we talked about having a greatest need fund. Going back a couple of years, one of the councillors said, we need to direct our funding towards those who are in greatest need. And so we put out that as a pot of funding. So we're trying to get some pictures and stories back from people, because we think that tells a greater story than lots and lots of dense documents. So in the top left there, you've got the St Paul's Food Bank, which is in East Ecclesfield, in our side of Parson Cross, they've said they see about 60 to 70 people every week. Ask them for a bit of a report back. One of the people that come in said, brilliant, I'm not judged, not rushed, it's friendly, everyone talks to you, I'm not a number. So I thought that was a lovely quote from somebody who's benefiting from being able to go in there. So every week they have food bank, but they also have a kind of coffee morning that we support. Top right picture is a new toddler group, so we've supported two new toddler groups. That one is in Stocksbridge, which is recently started meeting. And then the bottom two pictures are around a scheme in Stocksbridge, which is around community walling. And essentially, all the stuff on the left is kicked, and all the bottom right picture is basically people making kind of insulation for people so that people who've got need in terms of their energy bills are able to have things like insulated curtains, stuff that will provide energy efficiency measures. So those are some examples of what was funded under that pot. As an organisation called the Sheffield Council for Community Care. I think that's all the C's, they've got lots of C's. So they again have got new volunteers to connect people and to befriend people in the north of the city. So that's again something that's funded under that greatest need project, because we're aware, particularly in the north with the size of it and having an above average elderly population, that social isolation can be a really big issue. Thank you. Next slide. So we have this kind of big idea fund. What's your idea to make a difference? And how can we help some of the groups? Well, there's a project called a care farm, Grieve House Care Farm, which is working with people with learning disabilities. And what they said to us is, we would like you to give us a bit of funding, not all the funding they could have applied for, in order to make a video which explains what we do, so that we can try and do some crowdfunding. So these are just a few shots of them doing their video. I've not seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we can show you that at a future date. So that was helping them with a little bit of funding to access, hopefully, further funding in the future. And then in terms of the next slide, just a couple of pictures there. One was some activities just taking place in High Green about some history sessions for young people. And the one on the right-hand side is a new kind of kids club at Stannington, where they've had about 120 attendances through that new kids club. Lots of other things around things like community transport, which we'll be able to tell you, I think, more about in our summer meeting, because they will have developed further. We talked about quick wins. Those are some tree guards that we funded not far away in Ecclesfield Park. We've helped out with a short gap in funding in terms of citizens' advice work in Stocksbridge, when there was a bit of a shortfall for holiday activities for children. Lots of different things in parks like benches and notice boards, which make a difference, and we've been able to get done quickly. And then we have the Woodcock, which some of you may have applied for before. And these are some examples of some of the things that got funded through the Woodcocks this year. So a new Christmas tree in Ecclesfield, some new carol sheets for the Stannington Brass Band, a community event in High Green. The middle one is a health walk in Stannington. 3 health walks are funded across the north for very little money, I've got to say. It's £250 per health walk for a year, and they engage loads of people in healthy activity. And the bottom picture is actually English as teaching English as a second language, learning English as a second language, where we have the Staindrop refugee centre at the moment in Chapeltown, working with some of those people to get them upskilled in their English. Thank you. And some nice arts things. So the top thing is the Wantley Dragon. This is a thing in Deepcar where there was a previous structure which had sort of disintegrated. So they carved a new head for the Wantley Dragon. And the bottom one is a kind of community sculpture day in Stannington, also supported the Homegrown Festival in Stocksbridge. And again, a little bit of money can often help people to do things right across their community to engage lots of people. So this is 2 funds in one slide, because the right hand is the pedestrian enhancement budget, which is where the work that we've done so far in Uxbridge has been funded. Obviously, we're going to look at that further. In a number of our primary schools, we have these signs that you'll see on the right-hand side where we funded these for the primary schools, so that the police would tell you that parking around schools is the bane of our lives. And so we've literally funded some of these signs that schools can put out in certain locations, so people can physically not park there and hopefully can be more aware of children's safety. And then the left hand is, I mentioned a fly tipping budget, not far from us at all, on Woodhead Road. There was a site where a number of your councillors on a regular basis used to go and pull bags of rubbish and tyres and all sorts out of the ditch. And they're not able to do that anymore because we put those posts in place, and waiting for some of these other schemes to get installed. In terms of our cost of living fund, there's a few examples there. Stanton Food Bank said that they provide 1,500 amounts of support now. Some of those people will be regulars, but obviously it's not one person going 1,500 times. They support a lot of people through the year, some of our most vulnerable people. And Stannington Library have started a new friendship cafe, different projects there, such as a hygiene bank, which is about hygiene products, making sure they're available for everybody, a new lunch club with Bright Family, and a new coffee morning in Ecclesfield. So what I'm going to suggest, Chair, is actually that we bring Mark in at this point, because he might have a few more things to say about the cost of living work he's doing, and then he's going to take us through the youth projects we funded, which are on a different path.
Go a bit nearer, Mark. Go a bit nearer, don't be shy.
Right, evening everybody. Yeah, so cost part of my role is, like I said, distribution development work. Other part is cost of living, so a lot of it's working with, like David mentioned, like the welcome place, where you can drop in and get cups of tea. And it's not just that, it's about signposting into advice and benefits. So we put them onto Citizens Advice, Chopping Advice, and Sheffield City Council crisis helpline. There's also help that people can get out there for even stuff like getting heating and heating vouchers, we go like 50 quid vouchers to pay for electric and gas to certain people, and refer people onto food banks, so there's that side of it as well. I think we've got about 12 in also, not quite as many as southern areas of the city. We do try to support them and get more support. And just while we're at Ecclesfield one team, they're having like a bit more of an event today on the 25th of March. We'll be having a talk on Whitaker Woodhouse. We've got a local listening audience to give a talk all about that, doing like a quiz day, and do a really nice cake as well. But they do a grab side as well, Alan, so I'm not I'll do that. We'll pop on to the next part of the slideshow then. And all this now is a report on the youth engagement fund, which is super active as well. So again, we've funded a lot more projects that's on here. This is just a quick snapshot of who we've funded. So the Forge Valley one, again, down again. So on that one, that was run by Sheffield Wednesday Football in the Community Project. And that we're giving opportunities for people, mainly 14 to 17-year-olds, just engage them and get in, stuff they're banging about on streets and stuff like that. And again, so they've done some case studies and they're really pleased that they've got more young people attending as time has gone on, so that's really good to see that. So as the case study says at the bottom, that Alistair, he's attended every week. And he loves it, helps build his confidence and teamwork and skills. And just gets young people talking to each other and engaging. So we'll move on to the next one. That's just a few pictures there where the young people's entered a competition in Doncaster. I don't know how well they did on that, I'm not going to report it. It's just nice to see them, getting the kit on and playing. I mean, there are other teams in Sheffield, but this is Sheffield Wednesday. Okay, so this next one was a mind part, and these are like drama and performing arts, and they do delivery across the North Lake area in various venues. As it said on that, it's all aimed about building people's confidence again, like a lot of these sessions are through performing arts and drama. And again, the showcase study there on one young person who came along is now joining singing workshops. His confidence has come along that good, is doing regular now. Like it says on there, we ought to be able to continue developing. So again, we ought to support some of these in the future as well. Okay, next one. And this one was at the High Green Development Trust, my campus up there. That's where they organised the Halloween party. I think that was it always an alternative we did that? Yeah, so they're like a youth provider who are based in the High Green area. They are the youth providers up there. This is where they put an Halloween party. Again, 80 young people doesn't sound a lot, but it is for that area. It takes time to build these things up, and I think that's really good how they put the work and the hours in. And they're getting young people, so they continue to carry on going, they're getting more people engaged. It's good to see that. Okay, next one. Oh, is that it? So apart from that, there is a lot more than that we funded for young people. There's loads of groups we funded. Some have took place like these have already. Some are actually ongoing. And some are like starting as we speak in March now, so there'll be a lot more reporting back from that. But again, like we said earlier, we're keen to encourage lots of other groups to apply for funds. There's tons of people doing work out there who are not aware of what we're doing. So just pass the word on and get them to apply to us. Like I said before, is anybody wanting help on development work, or again, I've got a sports development background, so get in touch on that if you need any advice on that. Okay, thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, thanks very much, yeah. Move on now to the item 9, which is the Ecclesfield Neighbourhood Plan, which the Parish is developing. And it's over to you, Andrew.
My name is Councillor and Clerk for the Parish Council. You're probably familiar with. Now, what we're familiar with is actually came into write this neighbourhood plan. The plan of my background, it's a long history of how I got here. So for a few years we were preparing a neighbourhood plan. We're pretty advanced stages now. What is the neighbourhood plan? Very straightforward. The idea is that communities can modify or shape planning policies to make sure that they tailor weight to their needs. I'll give you examples as that goes along. It's not about rewriting government planning policies. It's about just making sure planning policies work better for your community. I'll come to explain that. So it talks about where new homes should be built. We haven't really got to a lot of locations, but particularly around what the home should look like and what it should look like. There are financial benefits for using neighbourhood plans. There's what a community infrastructure which is like a charge and development. If you use a neighbourhood plan, you get an enhanced rate for doing it. And then nationally there are 3,000 reproduced neighbourhood plans. In Sheffield there are 3 already. Broomville, is written there. And we aim to be the 4th. I want to talk about where we are and what in terms of the process. In parish areas, they've got produced by the Parish Council, so we're reading it, and we're producing it with using the name of the group comprising the Parish Councillors, or Parish Councillors, and other members of the community, supported by Sheffield City Council. And we've prepared a draft of the neighbourhood plan, which is at the back there, everyone can look at it. And what we've done there is, it's not about doing everything plan can do, we've just focused on the small key areas where we think we can make the biggest impact. So the 12 things, the policies we have sort of do are, we're very strong in protecting the green belt and environment. We're also the things called, you're probably familiar with what things are called listed buildings. They're buildings which have got statutory protection. But there are lots of other lovely buildings which don't have statutory protection. And we want them to be acknowledged in the planning system, so we're doing things from, I mean, it's not the most exciting title, but we do work on non-designated heritage assets. So that's what they want to show. As far as I want to call them, that's what they are called. So they're not listed buildings, but they're the next tier down, and that gives them some protection in terms of the planning system. We've gone through, there's a trend generally community facilities be lost, converting churches into houses, lots of things like that. So what we've done is we've gone through and identified, and everyone talks about, well, all important community facilities should be protected, pretty straightforward. But what we've done today, so we list all the community facilities we'd like to be protected. The aim being is somebody submits a planning application to come, not very good analogy, but to be able to convert this church into something else, we'll see protected. I'm not saying we're doing wrong, I'm not saying there's any route to convert this. This is an example of what we're trying to do. Particularly around housing, we'll talk examples around that as a particular focus. A couple of stats for you for Grenaside, because a lot of this is evidence-based. 30% of the population is aged over 65 according to the 2020 census. The figures for the next census are quite astonishing in how many old people potentially filling in Grenaside. Now, what traditionally the type of housing should be built for the parish has been larger 3-4 bedroom homes. Not saying we want to stop that, but what we would like to see is much more smaller homes to reflect the ageing population. And we want also much more housing to meet the needs of the population. Development large and small with high quality distinct sustainable design, I'll come on to that, because all planning policies say that, it's just how you do it.
Lots of concerns about parking provision, and so we're quite strong on any development needs to have adequate parking and provide essential services and infrastructure. And so that's what happens then is you write planning policies. And the idea is that something from planning policy, they have to conform with the neighbourhood plan. The neighbourhood plan has full statutory weight. That means it's a legal document which has to be regarded with. My principal idea is that neighbourhood plans are quite a convoluted route. You know, it may take a few years for us to produce ours, but they all take a few years because you've got to do it in a legal way. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have people familiar with documents called the Sheffield Local Plan. This has the same status as the Sheffield Local Plan. You have to go through quite a detailed examination. The difference between this neighbourhood plan and other planning documents is for it to be approved, it has to go to a referendum and you have to vote if you want the neighbourhood plan to be adopted or not. If you don't want the neighbourhood plan to be adopted, it wouldn't be adopted. Just something which is very close to not being adopted. So, the stock policy we've got already, I'm going to do a few examples. Supports the conservation of the risk of concerns parishes rebalance. Very clear, we want that, so we've got a policy around that. We're also going to support small-scale renewable low carbon energy schemes. Because again, the public saying we'd like us to see much more we can do around that. Talked about earlier, we're going to safeguard and identify the important local community facilities to stop them in changing the use of things. There are certain community facilities which we'd like to see more of, particularly medical care, but also facilities for children and people. So we're going to encourage that planning policy for organisations to actually help sure we do that, and include parks and open spaces. Quite strong policy around parking. You know, not only does parking have to meet the greatest standards in terms of free parking provision development, also on top of that, people are looking to limit car parking provision. You know, there are certain steps you have to do before we can do that. So housing mix is like a detail because they're like summary of the policy. So like, for example, this is what the housing policy will say. To help them meet the present and future needs of all residents of the parish, new housing development proposal form should mix a mixture of housing sizes, types and tenures that reflect the most up-to-date published evidence of housing needs of the Ecclesfield and Sheffield City Council. Priority should be given to dwellings with 2 bedrooms. So if there's a development, the majority should be 2 bedroom. We're not saying all of it has to be 2 bedroom only. And where we don't, you know, we're in a lot to and fro with Sheffield City Council about this, or they are supported. And so we can't, you know, we do talk about what you're saying, an end to 4-bedroom homes, but we reiterate that. But, you know, developments come forward and it does include 4-bedroom homes, that has to be subservient to the overall mix of housing. You can't have developments which we've seen already for compliance in 3 or 4-bedroom homes, including 4-bedroom homes, because we don't think that reflects the needs of the community going forward. We actually think what we need as a community is more smaller homes. You've also got issues on representation. We've got lots of people, single people who come through 4-bedroom homes, and hopefully in more small homes to release that as well. So that's just an example of one of the policies. And in terms of, there are other things I talked about in non-designated charity assets. So the things we want to do which aren't necessarily done through the planning system. Now what we've had to do is to support by a number of documents. There's the housing needs assessment. The first thing off my focus. As I said before, everything we've got to do in terms of planning has got to be evidence-based. So we've had to, when we did the initial policies around making it really strong around building more smaller homes, Sheffield City Council kind of supported that, but saying you need the evidence, because we already know the developers are saying no, they don't want to do that. They want to continue building 4-bedroom homes because that's what they feel the community wants. So we commissioned a housing needs assessment to provide the evidence. So that's where I got the figure about 30% of the people, and actually over half of the population who over 65 very shortly. Another factor on the other side, not only do you have a high rate of people who are occupied, you have a very high proportion of people who actually own their own house outright. 85% of people here own their own house outright. There's a lot of people with mortgages. So we're doing a lot of things, and then the other thing we're doing is design codes. Because It's great, because everyone says we need to build to a high standard of good design, and what, but what does you mean by beautiful design or good design? It's just one of these phrases people mean, but what does that actually mean in practice? So what we've done is very much in the government thinking, government really behind the idea of design codes. We're aiming to be the first one doing Sheffield, hopefully we'll be Sheffield City Council doing theirs in. And so what we've done is that people reduce this. I've split the parish into 7 areas. Grenham Knoll, Grenham Wood, Green Gap, Whitley, Eastern Bridge, Merseyside Village, Ecclesfield, Burncross, Chapeltown, Highbury and Thornford. And each one of those has its own design policies. It's about the materials which should be used, which trees should be planted, parking standards. And because the parish is quite large, and if we have tried to have one-size-fits-all approach, we'll probably struggle a little bit. So these have that very detailed policy. For each of those policies, if somebody comes along and says, oh, I want to build something, what should it look like? This will give them advice on what that should look like, and guidelines and statutory planning policy guidance. And then across that, we have 6 themes, which are things which we particularly want to help us to focus on in terms of other things we want to do. So, character quality, that's just really emphasising that things should be really high and good quality design. Most of the development which is likely to take place here will be infill, because there's no proposals to. And what's happening with the infill, which the people who use the design guide pointed out to us, and I know you're aware of this, people are basically trying to squeeze as much housing as they can do into any gap they've got in here. And so we've got a strong policy around about infill, particularly infill, which is 3-4 bedroom, 3-4-storey housing, aimed at trying to control that. Tree planting agreement from the members, which things like here is looked in the parish, the words in Renaissance, what I'm saying means agriculturists, basically, and he's been great at putting really strong tree planting guidance around that. Not only about the need for them trees, but what do we mean by local species, what sort of trees work better in different areas. So when developers say, oh, we've got some trees, we know they're planting trees which are native to the local area. Design for dementia. You have got an aging population, this is across the whole of the parish, and the rates of dementia are much higher than the national average. Not significantly, but higher. And so what we want to do is, when developments take place, that a particular emphasis on design for dementia, because of the particular need for more dementia-friendly developments. Hedgehog habitat, we're a hedgehog hero parish. We're very proud of what we've done to help the parishes in terms of making sure that we protect these declining species. I know there's lots of other species, but do our best. Leaflets like next to is bees. Lovely project we're doing about bees leaflets. So we do want developers to help us continue to be a hero. There's a lot developers can do to help hedgehogs scratch into a lot of species, but we know they'll do that. And sustainable design and climate resilience. Just making sure that everything we can do, everything we do to make sure that we move into the future in terms of meeting climate change. So where are we in terms of this? Most of this has been funded through government funding. The cost of the parish council, my concept has been quite small. The design codes, you can have a look at the housing needs, which are examples of all that, has all been funded through government funding. So what we're doing is, we have now produced a plan we're quite happy with. There's a copy out there. And then what we need to do is then actually start the formal process of getting it formally adopted. And that's called Regulation 14. And that's when you write to residents, landowners, business agencies, other people their views on it. And we hope to benefit. We already know that some developers contacted me already and said they're unhappy about some aspect. They want to build before they remember, basically. So with the that process of things, if anything, but we do need to consult. Assuming this goes well, the revised plan will be submitted to Sheffield City Council. We don't need their approval, but we are working closely with them. I haven't seen any ring merit to us previously plan which Sheffield City Council planners are happy with, but we are working quite closely with them. Then it goes through independent examination, and we're going to appoint somebody whose job is it to go through the plan and make sure it conforms to national planning policy. I think we should be alright on that. And then if it passes that, it's over to you lot. And then it goes to a referendum. You either vote if you don't want the plan to be adopted or not. It took us a long time to get where we are, but I'm thinking that stage, again, should go relatively months. Planning's not, I'm a planner, planning's not now the act moving very quickly. But we're hoping we can get this done as quickly as possible. And I said it's not only the draft plan, it's the design code, which are examples of there, which is actually the design code, which is the thing I talked about, which is the detailed policy for all different areas. It's actually longer than the neighbourhood plan. And then if you want to look at our neighbourhood plan, by all means do so. You know, the aim is, you know, so in terms of design codes, yeah, and hopefully, so really welcome the opportunity to just explain where we are. There is a display at the back which explains a bit more. Happy to take any questions. I'm not saying the plan for planning and not design variety really from planning really confident, but it is important. Happy to take any questions or comments or whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Andrew, thanks very much for that, Andrew. There's been a lot of work in the parish, certainly from Andrew and people who we've had on board with us. In the meeting tonight, there are 6 parish councillors. Most have had input into that. It took us a long time with, certainly with your guidance. I think we've done a really great job. Adam.
Thanks, Chair. Hopefully 3 fairly quick supplements and questions. First one, I take it transport and public transport is something that you can't do anything about within the plan, because I think that in Grenoside it's a major issue, and I think it does affect actually who wants to live here and how. Do you want me to come up with the other 2 things as well? The other one was I just wanted to clarify the not wanting to build more 4-bedroom houses seems quite sensible, but I also think that that's because a lot of people have lived in Grenoside for a long time, brought up our families here. We're still in the same houses, which means Grenoside now is in many ways a family unfriendly place. So are you talking about encouraging people in Grenoside to maybe move into accommodation to free up the 3 and 4 bedroom houses? And then the final one is extensions, which is the bane of you build a house, it's a 2-bedroom house. A few years later, somebody builds an extension with another bedroom or 2, but they're paying the same council tax, which would have people in the finance and resources side of the council banging their heads against the wall. So I was wondering, hopefully they're not too complex. Thank you, Chair.
Only some of the bits which the plan can deal with. We are constrained by it, does go. But yeah, buses, I mean, I can write some nice statements about buses, but to be honest, the neighbourhood plan's not the right document to deal with that, so it does touch on that. The second thing you spot on, and particularly relevant to Grenoside, is the need for 1 2-bedroom homes, in our opinion, is not only because of the ageing population and the needs outside, but you have got high levels of what's called under-occupancy, particularly in areas like this. And the issue, and the report states that, is there are a lot of people in particular areas like this who live in 3 4-bedroom homes which would like to move into smaller homes, but there's no smaller homes for them to go into. So if we can provide more 1 2-bedroom homes, their idea, you're right, is that will free up 3 4-bedroom homes for families. So and in terms of extensions, there's a lot. The design codes are particularly focused about extensions. There's some very good examples of extensions we've made which are high quality, distinctive, and fit into the character of the area. And there's others which are probably not so. Now, if it's in the conservation area or something, there's a degree of protection. It's developments which are taking place in more historic, attractive areas, but probably not are part of the conservation area.
Like in 30, 40 years' time, we built the 2-bedroom houses, but half of them would become 3 and 4-bedroom with extensions, so we've got the same problem all over again.
Rob? Andrew, thank you so much for the work you've put in. As a planning wonk myself for my sins, I'll be very much interested in taking a read of this. But more with the referenda to adopt it. Would the obviously the rules and the guidance and the advisories would only become kind of active when it gets passed. what is the process for the referendum, the timescales? Is there requirements as to the number of people that would have to vote in it for it to be made valid?
Yeah. Second first bit, I should have said that, it was in fact behind. Once it goes to the next stage of consultation, and if the consultation is successful, it's actually then at that stage becomes a planning document. It's just the weight which attached to it needs to take into account where it is in the process. So it doesn't have full weight because it hasn't been through referendum, but it carries some weight because it's staged. In terms of the referendum, it's done exactly like any other referendum, and it's 50% plus one. If only 3 people voted, and 2 voted yes and 1 voted no, it still would be statutorily enforced.
Brilliant. And so would we have to wait for a cycle in which there is a local election for that to take place?
All right, that's no. Sheffield City Council have to pick up the bill for the referendum.
I was just thinking as...
So there are, if I was an officer from Sheffield City Council, there is a reason why I've been going, why can't we piggy back on one of your referendums? But in our case, no, there isn't any such requirement, so yeah.
I was just thinking with the timescales, if it is ready to go to the referenda kind of later this year or beginning of 2025.
The rules are that the planning authority, I'm sure Sheffield wouldn't do that, there's a lot of this living. There are examples in the past where local authorities sort of drag their feet on taking it to the referendum, but there are strict rules. For example, as soon as the examiner publishes his report, the referendum was arranged in 8 weeks.
Brilliant. Yeah. I'm just conscious with the next schedule, City Council elections not being until 2026, that might have delayed, but it's good to know.
Yeah, and also, I should say what sort of I just thought when in Rotherham, and Rotherham were clear they didn't want it to be at the same time as the referendum, because their fear was it'd be used for political purposes. You know, one group who would support it, another wouldn't, and really they shouldn't just focus on the quality of the plan. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Andrew, thanks very much for that. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if this plan had been in place 2 years ago, how would that have affected the state of the school?
Well, it would have, I can't talk about it's only the generalities. One would have meant that the school, when they submitted the planning application, it needed to be in accordance with the design guide contained in the plan. So if the design guide says they have to keep these heritage features, they have to use these bricks, they have to use this and that parking, that we would have to be in accordance with the design code.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of things with Grand's School. Grand's School was what's termed as a building of townscape merit. In other words, it's part of the fabric of the village. So, as in the North Accounts, for example, which is a building of townscape merit, so there are limitations about what you can do with it. I don't think that helps with the current situation, but you understand there is protection there. I think it might be useful, Andrew, to give a bit of a fuller explanation on community infrastructure levy, what it's about, how much we get, and their feeling of the sort of sums of money, so reference from that.
The community infrastructure levy, because I don't want to give the impression we're doing the neighbourhood plan just to get hold of the bigger share of community infrastructure, because we're not. But one of the advantages of community, it gives you access to funding, which you otherwise would get. Now, the community infrastructure levy is a tax on development. So every home which is built in your area, I can't remember the precise figures, the developer has to pay the tax, effectively, the levy. So like in some parts of the country, for every new home they build, they have to pay £10,000 per home to pay for infrastructure associated with that development. Doctor surgery, affordable housing, schools, roads, never enough money. Now, of that levy, parish councils receive 15%. Well, that levy is paid to the parish council for it to use it to pay for what it'd like to see in terms of infrastructure and development. If we produce a neighbourhood plan, the parish council share of the levy goes up to £25,000 a year. So last year, we got around £12,500 through the community infrastructure to spend across the parish. If we have a neighbourhood plan, we're probably talking £20,000. But we expect, because how the levy works, because it's only recently doing Sheffield, we actually expect to receive more of that once the neighbourhood plan's been approved. And that's money for the parish council to spend for the benefit of yourselves.
Thanks. So in connection with the old school buildings, the first planning application, the conditions that were laid on that planning application was they had to keep 2 buildings and convert them into accommodation. So subsequently, that's been lost, unfortunately. We're all done with that, yeah. Adam, can I bring you up to the front and just tell us a bit about Riverside Park? Introduce yourself and where you are. Yeah? Get the mic, yeah.
Evening, everyone. So my name is Adam. I am the treasurer of the Friends of Riverside Park. We were set up, just through the background, we were set up a couple of years ago by just 5 parents who live in the area. Laura was our chair, set it up, and we answered the call. The main aim of us is to improve the children's play area in Riverside Park. Some of the equipment is over 30 years old. If you actually look at it or seen it, it's predominantly grass, which means winter time it's kind of unusable for buggies. Certainly there's an issue with any access. So yeah, we want to just improve it. So this is just a quick roundup of what we've been doing and what we plan to do in the future. We want it to be kind of visible in the community, but with the sums of money involved with it, a lot of it is going to be through grants and funding. So for us, we took on the Christmas tree check trail, which has been running for just before COVID. Very successful. We changed it a little bit. We raised over £900 towards our goal, and lots of prizes went out, and it was just a nice community involvement to get our name out. One of the biggest projects we're doing at the moment is the proposed zip wire for the park. That has been approved by the council and the local residents, and it will be installed to the east of the park along the tree line. We're currently waiting our £50,000 from lottery fund application to be approved. So that's in the process as we speak. That was actually a really popular addition by the a survey that we put out to residents. So that's what they're looking for, that's what we're trying to deliver. Moving on, we were successful in receiving a £5,000 Big Idea grant from the local area committee that is yourselves. So I just want to say from all our guys, thank you very much for the support on that. It is very much appreciated, and all the additional help that you give us is really important. This money is going to go towards a topographical study, a survey, so this is maps of the boundaries of the park, features, the levels for the playground, which is going to be carried out by the CDS, which is the Capital Delivery Service, on behalf of the council. We need to work through them for the size of the project. This is a key component for us to be able to move forward. So the fact that we can get this moving now is really good. The survey is priced at £6,400. Stuart Turner, the service manager at Sheffield Council, has agreed to fund the £1,400 to make up the extra. So we're going to move forward. We've had a site meet with Stuart and also Jack Spoxall, who's the CDS architect, and Richard Dewsbury, who's the parks area manager, to discuss our design in a bit more detail. We've got some grand ideas that we'd like to put forward, but they're going to be able to help us put it into a position and see how we would actually roll that out. So at the minute, we're just waiting for CDS's initial feasibility for the play improvements at the playground and the results of the topographical survey. So that's where we are, and we'll continue to be active in the local area and keep pushing for funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Has anybody got any questions or issues? I don't just like to thank you and your group. I think it was 2 years in May when you were formed.
Yeah,
and you've come a long way. And hopefully, when it comes to fruition, your children won't be too big to use it.
No, I'll be honest. Back in first gun,
Thank you. We've just got one additional item about your services. Would you like to come and introduce yourself and tell us a bit about it? Yeah, thank you.
Hi all, my name is Carl Hizam. I'm a Youth Voice and Influence worker for the Sheffield City Council Youth Voice and Influence Service. So what I do, we come to every lab that happens across the city. Our service is citywide. We try and make sure that young people's voice is heard in any kind of development. So like the part you were just saying there, we try and get local people, go out and do detached work, speak to people, carry out the surveys, find out what it is. We've been doing surveys around the city at the moment. What it is teenagers saying that parks aren't suitable for them. So they want kind of rides or equipment that is more suitable to them. Also sending people are saying that they want accessible spaces in parks. So that might be something you might want to consider in terms of any consultation you might use. I come and represent the Community Youth Services of the City Council, and there's 4 departments within that. There's Information, Advice and Guidance Service, which provides the old careers advice to young people. Targeting 16 to 18s and NEET young people, which is young people that are not employed or in education or training. So the specific services around trying to access young people into those provisions. Another part of the service is Universal Youth Services, and the current pledge by Sheffield City Council is that they have 3 Universal Youth sessions in every ward of the city. So in terms of this ward, I think there's one in Stocksbridge, one in Stannington. You mentioned the refugee centre. That's a new session that's been supported by Universal Youth Services. I know there's some work in Ecclesfield as well to try and set up a provision and a Universal Youth Service provision in that area. They're currently doing detached work to try and find out where young people would like that in Ecclesfield. We have the Youth Voice and Influence Service, like I say, which is myself and 4 other workers that go around and do consultations with young people, because often young people's voice that is not heard. So we try and take any kind of consultation like city goals, the current housing strategy, or any local youth provision surveys. We try and take that to young people and get young people's voice heard. And the final service is the prevention service, which is more about supporting individuals that may be in need of support because they get involved in crime or community orders or youth offending orders. So it's specific targeted services to those young people. Another part of their service is children that go missing. So they respond to anything in terms of children that go missing in their services. If, for yourselves, I don't know if it's possibly your children, our services are targeted at 12 to 19-year-olds. So you might have children that age, you might not, you might have grandchildren. If there's any information you would like, please feel free to look on the website or come and chat to me at the end. If there's any questions now, please feel free to ask. But it's just we try and represent young people's voice, so when sometimes you have break-off groups and things like that, we'll share what young people have been telling us from your locality or what we're kind of gathering from citywide opinions of young people. So that's why we try and come to each and every life. Thank you for your time. And thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I think that virtually brings us to a close, and thank you all for attending. Please don't dash off. The councillors will be here to have a chat with you. We're quite conscious, both councillors and officers, about how these meetings are run and what the attending people feel about the meetings. So again, your feedback will be most welcome. How you have felt or how you think we could have done it different from your point of view. I think tonight's meeting has been reasonable, but certainly I think the councillors up here would like to hear your comments, if that's possible. But please don't dash off, have a chat to us. And thanks very much for attending. And if you are going home via Hillsborough, don't forget there's a football match on. I think you'll be okay after about 7:45. To go that way.